Hello everyone, welcome. In this video I just want to quickly show what to do if you're missing a NavAid from a third-party airport, or if you're using Airport Design Editor and you designed your own airport and you're missing the local navigation aids like a VOR or a intersection or certain waypoints. ADE can also aid in placing those waypoints in Microsoft Flight Simulator, FSX or Fs9 or P3D. So it depends on what version you're working with of Airport Design Scenery. When you open it up, it'll give you those options to that particular flight simulator. So to get started, the first thing we want to do is make sure you back up your airport that you're working with. Make sure you back that up. That's the number one thing, and save that in a safe place. In case things doesn't work out and there's an error, you can always reload your backup airport that you last worked on, and then try again to import the waypoints. So one thing I would recommend, I'm going to work with JFK, and one thing I'm going to recommend is open up the stock airport for JFK and just take a look at the of the waypoints. And to do that, just open up stock airport. Under stock airport, you can see all the navaids that are at that particular airport. So JFK is pulling in JFK ILSs and LaGuardia Newark, and also the NDBs and the VORs. And so we want to import this into the JFK at the particular airport you're working on in ADE. So I'm just going to close out the Start Airport menu right here, and then we're going to continue on. So now I'm going to open up the JFK file that I was working on, which is on my flight simulator, and that's the JFK FSX. So I'm going to open up that. No, I don't want to save the original. And that's just, the original was the stock airport. So I'm going to open up the JFK, and I was working on trying to get JFK back to during the late 70s. So my airport may look a little different than what you would see on FSX. So I was working on JFK back in the late 70s. So if I go over here to list and I go over here to Navaids, you'll notice that the navaids, certain navaids are missing. Majority of them are missing. So the quickest way to implement them in is to import them into Flight Simulator. In this case, I'm using FSX. So I'm going to close out this window right here. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to Tools, and we're going to click on Load Stock Data. And it's asking me, do I want to back it up? And I'm just going to say, yes, save it underneath that file right there, and I'm going to overwrite it. And so all I want to do now is just enter the nav aids and the waypoints. So I'm going to click this here, and I'm going to import. I'm just going to import the nav aids and the waypoints. So when I do that, it's going to take those stations or waypoints, intersections, VORs, and it's going to then inject them into Flight Simulator under the ADE program. And you're not able to see this coding, and this is where it gets kind of tricky and confusing. You're not going to be able to see the coding, but it's in the background of ADE. That's the way you can kind of virtually think of it. So when I go to list now, when I go up to the press list, and I go to Navaids, and you'll notice now that I do have the Navaids shown. Okay, so one of the navaids I'm going to focus on is, here's Deer Park and Atlantic City and Canarsie. So I was trying to get those VORs in there. So what you can do, you can either just code, just click on add a VOR and put them in manually. Or after you get them all imported in, as you see, they're coming up on the list here. Let me see if I can get the airports in order here. I can click on name. Here's my airports in the order. But here's the ILSs for the JFK and LaGuardia. And now that I got those imported, what I want to do now, I want to go ahead and compile the airport. So I'm going to exit out of here. And I'm going to click compile. And let's see here. Okay. Compile airport, and it's going to say save, but I saved it to the wrong file. So be very careful on that. So to go back and to compile it to the correct file, what you want to do is press compile, go to open file, and I want this particular JFK airport because this is the one I'm working on. Now the JFK ADX, this one here, I'm just going to delete this one because this is not the one I wanted to get compiled. So I'm going to delete that one. And I want to go to JFK FSX01 Echo. So I'm going to save it and replace it and then come over here and compile it. Okay, so the airport is compiled. Now what we want to do next is go into Flight Simulator and test some of the waypoints. Do a departure or put yourself in the air and test some of the waypoints, the VORs or the NBDs, and see if they pop up on your VOR or NDB indicator or RMI indicator. See if they pop up and they're functioning. And then if they work, that is great. That means it got imported correctly and it's running in the background. So save the airport, compile it, and then do a test. And let's say, for example, after you do your test, and let's say if Deer Park was still missing in your airport you're trying to design or set up. So for example, we go back to Navaids here. And let me see if I can shrink this window. So let's say, for example, we wanted to go to Deer Park did not, when you did your test, it did not show up. Let me see if I can give you an example. I'm going to close this screen out right here. So let's see here. We're going to we go here and just add a VOR DME and just type the information there, make a note of it and just type the information in and add it. If it doesn't get imported after several attempts. And so that's how you get the VORs in there. And one other useful tool I just wanted to highlight, if you can get PDMG navigation file, and you can download that from AvSim or flightsim.com, but just do an internet search for the PDMG navigation file, and it should bring up the FMC waypoints, and you download it and then just stick it anywhere in your computer. But one good thing about that particular PMDG has a navigation file. It's a FMC navigation file, and if you go into your web browser, if you type in PMDG NavData or FMC download, certain websites like flightsim.com or AvSim, they may have a previous version of the PMDG FMC navigation file. And to give you an example of how that looks, let me open up my flight simulator file. And in this file here, FMC waypoints, that is the PMDG file that I found on the internet here. And then if I go to NavData, it has a list of waypoints and their coordinates and the region area. So say, for example, if I wanted to get Deer Park, if I open up, let's see here, navigation fix or navigation aid, and I do a search for Deer Park and enter that, and here's the coordinates. So all I have to do now is just put this in the VOR, add a VOR, put in there DPK and the how many miles the signal goes out, high, low, or terminal, And if I need to get the coordinates, I just highlight the coordinates here, copy it, and then come over here and get the other coordinates and take out the navigation frequency. And I just paste that right into the add VOR waypoint. Or even if I'm doing a intersection waypoint, I just use the waypoint data file that PMDG uses, and that way I can get things done very quickly. When I create a waypoint or VOR or NDB, I can got the waypoints in there very quickly, and it goes in the area correctly. And I'm gonna try to make a video on working with coordinates with ADE sometime in the near future. So thank you very much for your time. I hope this video was very useful. So hopefully this technique will work for adding missing waypoints or navigation facilities in your airport that you probably downloaded, or you're developing an airport under ADE and you're not having the waypoints there. Hopefully this video was easy to follow along and to help you to insert those or import those navigation aids. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate your support.